Welcome to Dadtrepreneur, the podcast tailor-made for the modern man balancing personal development, business, and family. This is Dadtrepreneur.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dadtrepreneur podcast. We talk about all things man, even the stuff men don't want to talk about. I'm your co-host, Billy G.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jarrod.
In today's topic, we wanted to speak on emotional intelligence, how that applies in business and in your personal life. I don't know about you, Jarrod, but I know tons of people where it seems like they reach 16 years old and they just kind of stop growing up, and how that can affect people's lives moving forward.
So yeah, look, I do definitely feel that way, that people kind of stay stuck in their ways. They don't want to evolve. And most of those people are also kind of complacent in life in general.
Yes.
You know? So it's like there's no room for growth, almost, they act like. So let me ask you something. How would you define emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence is being able to properly handle life situations without being, overly angry, overly upset, without letting your emotions get the best of you. Look, we're emotional beings. It is what it is. We're going to have it. I always say that, we're not responsible for, the first emotion, but we're responsible for, what we do after it. We're not responsible for sadness or anger, but we're responsible for, depression and resentment, those things that kind of come after. And I think it's the wisdom to kind of know the difference, the being able to feel something, understand what it is, and then being able to move forward and process with it.
Completely agree. I would say that that's kind of the difference between moods and emotions, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, emotions are more they come and go type thing. Mm-hmm. Think about how many thoughts you have in a day. I forget what the number is, but it's some ridiculous number of thoughts that you have in a day. Yeah. Just most of them are unconscious. Mm-hmm. So it's I think there's a pretty major difference between moods and feelings. Feelings are fleeting and they come and go. Moods, I feel like you can kind of get stuck in almost.
Yeah. Well, I think something you're referring to is our instincts. We are instinctually built to react, mm-hmm. right? So, let's take fear, for example. We have fear built into us for a very good evolutionary reason. If a lion is charging toward you, it's normal to have fear, and then to react because of the threat, right? But I think something that, us modern people get messed up is we have that same flight or flight response, that same fear with things that are not the lion.
Just shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're constantly in this overdrive, whether someone pisses you off online or, your kid does something stupid, we react that same way that you would with that lion chasing you. And I think over time, that starts to wear you down. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it also depends of kind of how capable are you of dealing with your feelings also, right? So let's say, as an example, kind of similar to the lion, but let's say that an active shooter comes into a store where you're shopping, but you are trained and, carry and you're trained or even semi-trained. You are going to be far more comfortable with that situation than the norm. You know what I mean? So it really depends on how capable you are of dealing with your emotions too. So I think the biggest part of all of this is mindfulness and being aware of what you are feeling or the mood you are in, which is very difficult to do. I would say that's the most difficult thing to constantly do is be mindful.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention too, something to the example that you mentioned, it's about repetition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about having situations happen.
Creating instincts.
Yeah, exactly. And then look, the guy who trains for the active shooter, the first time he goes to the range, he's probably fumbling with the gun. You know what I mean? He doesn't know how to aim. He doesn't know what he's doing. But it's over time of practice that he starts to understand, okay, well, I can then control my adrenaline, mm-hmm. or, I can control how I'm feeling if I think I'm going to be in this situation, then react in the right way. And I think that, when we have a lot of situations happen to us when we're younger, that's the beginning of training, right? Yeah. It's the beginning of understanding what, fear is, what jealousy is, what, anger is. And as we get older, we should start to be able to deal with those things better. By the time you're 30 years old, you should be dealing with anger and sadness and jealousy and all that in a much different way than you did when you were 14, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah. It's funny. I just came across something, I think it was this week. They stated that you have until your mid-20s to where it's like still super pliable and learnable. Not to say it's not learnable past your mid-20s, meaning becoming more, emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. So it's not that it's not learnable and your mind isn't malleable to it. It's just that you have, I guess, higher odds of making the change quicker up until your mid-20s is what they said. I forget what the starting age is, but it was something like that. So it is learnable, which is a good thing, right? You could become better at it. Even if you think that you are in a pretty, I don't know, high standard of emotional intelligence, there's always room for growth, which is good, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's something that you've never arrived. You know, like you don't get like a certificate that says like, hey, you're emotionally intelligent now. Yeah. You know, I think that as you gain history, right, that history then sets you up to handle the future a bit better. You know, and look, it's way easier said than done.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I always say this all the time on this podcast. Like when we're talking about stuff, it doesn't mean that like me and you kill that. Yeah. You know?
We're trying.
I'm not like some sort of expert on this subject because I can still very much get in my emotions about things that I probably shouldn't, and get in my head about things that I probably shouldn't. But I can tell you I'm a lot better with it today than I used to be. Yeah, and that's simply from learning from others. You know, I've been to therapy many times as well to try and help deal with that sort of thing, try to think things through. Alcoholics Anonymous helped me out tremendously in this regard. Because, even in my mid-20s, I was not, no, dude, like I wasn't all there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, at least for me, I started masking my feelings with substances really early on. So for me, that it never allowed me to grow. You know, you can't grow when you're numb. So anytime some stuff would come up, I would just, boom, take a substance, whether it be alcohol or drugs or whatever. And it would allow me to try and just get past that situation and didn't learn a damn thing. The only thing I learned was if I take something, I'll feel a little bit better, you know?
So obviously you don't do that anymore. So what is what's your replacement for, let's say when you're feeling angry, you notice you're feeling angry. Oh, yeah. What's your fix? Is it the gym or is it?
Well, I mean, it's mainly just about like feeling the first wave, the instinct like we talked about, like that first wave is, you can't help it, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness too, this doesn't just apply to bad things. It applies to good things too. Feeling that first wave and then kind of sitting back and assessing the situation, like let's say my significant other does something that bothers me. I feel it, I understand it. And then the next step is, okay, well, now I'm going to try and talk about what it is that's bothering me. And then, hopefully her reaction is what I expect. Sometimes it's not, and that can fuel another wave. For me, it's just about really remaining calm. I've always been like a calmer person growing up. I don't get loud. I don't yell. I don't call names. I don't do stuff like that. But I can get really angry up here. I can churn up here. So it's really about pausing that. It's about feeling that first wave and then saying, okay, well, let's just take a step back and take a breath and then really look at the situation and then kind of take the next step from there.
See, so I'm the opposite. I am verbal. I let my emotions get the best of me, especially anger, I would say. Irritation and anger, in my opinion, are under the same umbrella, so those are like my two things that get me like to,
or like you change.
Exactly. Obviously I guess that makes sense, right? Because those are the only things that are really going to get you elevated anyways. When you're sad, you're not really going to be like yelling about it. Maybe sometimes, right? Maybe sometimes, but that's because you're angry also. Yeah. So when you're just feeling sad, I wouldn't say that you're going to be yelling at the top of your lungs and cursing and stuff like that. And I think it just comes when there's multiple emotions in one situation that happens. So like you said, I'm definitely not an expert. It's something that I work on a regular basis, but it's one of those things where I feel like you need to practice it regularly and it's easy to stop doing that. I feel like when I was waking up early and kind of in a specific mindset in general about eating clean. We were just talking about this, but eating clean and making sure I get my exercise in, and meditation, in my opinion, was by far the best thing I did. I need to get back to it. You know, I don't even know why I stopped it. It's one of those things that helps me and I stop it. I don't even know.
Well, we all do that, man. You know, it's like the people who take, you know, mental disorders and they take medication, right? They're like, wow, I feel a lot better. So I don't need to take this medication anymore. And they don't realize it's the medication that helps. You know, so many people do that where like they get to this place where they're like, well, I'm all better now. So I don't have to do what I did to lead up to this place. You know, and I see it in sobriety a lot, you know, where people, they get to a point where they got a year, maybe 2 years sober, and they're like, well, good enough. You know, life's good. I got a car, I got a place, I got a girl, I got money. Kick my feet up. And it's like, no, no, you still have to walk the path that got you here, man, because everything that you've built up to that point can be taken away. You know, and that includes your serenity. You know, that includes the stuff you're talking about where, like, let's say you come to a nice, peaceful place in your life because you're doing X, Y, and Z. If you stop doing X, Y, and Z, you'll just lose all. You know, you have to continue to put one foot in front of the other and do the things that are, you know, got you to that place.
It's crazy to me how much all of this stuff ties into every aspect of your life. You know, like, as always, I feel like everything that we talk about does, but business, your relationship with yourself and others, you know. I also was listening to a podcast. I forget who it was. I watched too many podcasts, but I was listening to one and they were talking about a few things that stood out to me. One was Jordan Peterson. Peterson talks about like being capable of violence, but being able to keep it at bay until it's necessary almost. I don't know exactly how he says it, but it's something along those lines. And this other story kind of goes hand in hand. The guy was talking about the story of a samurai going to a monk and saying to the monk, can you explain to me the difference between heaven and hell? And the monk replies, and he's basically along the lines of, why would I do that? You're too stupid to understand. Mm-hmm. And the samurai immediately goes to draw a sword. Mm-hmm. And then the monk is like, that's hell.
Save.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when he draws the sword back into and sheaths the sword, the monk was like, that's heaven. Like once he calmed down and he got back to normal, he's like, that's heaven. I was like, damn, that was interesting. It's like a very short way of putting the immediate reaction versus like when you calm down. Again, especially when someone pushes your buttons, it's hard to shut it off. It's just a reaction that I can't control right now, you know?
Yeah.
At least not all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I don't think we're meant to control it. You know, I think we're just meant to flow with it. You know, I think we're meant to like take it to the right place because look, like I said, man, that stuff's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like we are built biologically to feel all these things. If we weren't, they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're meant to control those things. I think we're just meant to direct them in the right way instead of freaking out on your significant other, your kid, your business partner, or whatever, when they upset you. I think that should just open the door to a conversation on like, how do we fix this? You know, and which look, I try to do that, you know, and sometimes that doesn't always work. You know, I try to take a really calm approach to pretty much everyone in my life. And sometimes the other person doesn't want to play ball.
I was just going to say that.
Okay. And that's the hard part. Yeah, that's the hard part. If you have a person who's willing to play ball and who's willing to do that with you, man, you can settle things like that. Nothing easy. But when the other person isn't emotionally intelligent, when they're not in that same place as you, man, it can be difficult. It can be really difficult.
I would say that's the more common outcome, right?
Without a doubt.
Especially in relationships, it's one or the other person is just not in the mood to communicate the same way that the other is ready to communicate. That's typically how it is.
Yes, especially in relationships.
Right, because whoever feels they're in the right is most likely typically going to be less inclined to initiate that conversation, right? Because they're in the right. Yeah. I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm just going to wait for her to come up to me or him to come up to me and start that conversation.
Right.
And vice versa, you know? So I think that's the biggest part is getting to the starting point of the conversation and egos get in the way.
Oh yeah. And you know, and I look for me, like I try to still remain calm when that stuff happens.
Yeah.
If I have someone who's continuing to be aggressive with me, even though I'm trying to clearly put out the flames, you can't fight fire with fire. You know, I can't I can't feed into what they want to do because then it just takes the conversation in a completely different direction than at least I intended it to. And this can be really tricky because feelings can get hurt. And, you know, once feelings get hurt, all bets are off, especially I think with money. I think especially in business, like once feelings get hurt in business, man, it's just never the same.
100%.
Never the same, because you don't like need each other. When you're in a relationship with a woman or a man or with your kid, you're not like stuck with them, so to say. You're not stuck, but you rely on those people for comfort in your life, for love. And, there's going to be times where y'all don't disagree, and that's normal. But when it comes to like business, when it comes to somebody with money, at least for me, I started thinking like, I don't really need you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like everything to me. Like, I don't love you. So I'm not really willing to go through the BS that I would with like my wife or my girlfriend or my kid.
So I think that's part of the reason why, like, look, I'm in business with my brother. Mm-hmm. We had a third partner, and exactly what you're saying is what happened. Mm-hmm. It became personal. The hurt became personal, and then it never left. Mm-hmm. Like the stuff that happened still affects us in some fashion, right? Now, with my brother, it's not to say that it's all rainbows and butterflies all the time. We get into it, and we've gotten into it plenty of times, but all in all, we will always have each other's back. You know what I mean? Like, there has not been a single time where I was like, I'm gonna screw my brother over. I'm gonna screw my brother over. I've been angry, and I've said stupid stuff, and so has he. Yeah. But I think that's a huge difference in our partnership, is the fact that he is my brother. Yeah. We're blood. Yeah. So no matter what, even if we did at one point get upset about the financial aspect of it, it's like, when you dissect it, you realize it was never about the financial aspect. And I have situations that's happened to me on, you think it is, and then you kind of take a step back and do a breakdown of what the financial aspect of it was. And it's like, oh, it wasn't that. It was more so like validation. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it was. So the point is, I agree. When we had our third partner, it was just a whole different dynamic. Mm-hmm. Obviously, look, 3 partners is a lot to begin with. Mm-hmm. 3 different minds can be very good and very bad, if they're not all like-minded individuals. Mm-hmm. Now, my brother and I, once that separation happened, it was for the best all around. Yeah. I think for all parties, to be honest, at least to an extent. But yeah, I think we let it get more personal than business. And that's why those feelings stayed with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you guys started off as friends first.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like lifelong friends since 9-10 years old. So that's why it's impossible to not let it get personal. Of course. Not let it feel personal.
Of course.
But on the grand scheme, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we're wrong for feeling that way. And I'm sure he has some feelings of his own, Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just, it is crazy when money gets involved in anything.
No, it just changes.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
And it's honestly, it is sad. It is sad, right? It is really sad.
Yeah. Just like you, I wasn't always in a place where like life was secure in that aspect. And I remember lots of stress within my previous relationship in the very beginning about that kind of thing, where it was like, man, should the relationship be 50-50?
In what aspect?
Like with my ex-wife, right?
Gotcha.
Like, we were together for a long time, and look, I mean, I remember like having like $100 in my bank account, like
been there, bro.
Yeah, I remember it. And I remember us moving in together, getting an apartment, and being like, well, how should this break down? Should it be 50-50? Should it not be? Should I cover more? And like, that can get in the way of some stuff too. For sure. Because you have to know what kind of partner you have.
Tread carefully.
Yes, exactly. Like, are they on the same page with you as that? Will they get offended if you want them to pay more? Should they get a free ride? Like, it's a really interesting question.
What was your mindset?
Well, look, like back then, we both had nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like, it was closer to 50-50. I would say I covered a smidge more.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I started to take more responsibility.
Because you were capable
away from her. Exactly.
So that's different though, right? Yeah. So that comes down to survival.
Yeah.
Right? If you both aren't really doing well and your bills are piling up, it's like that goes into survival mode. It's like, you better do 50-50 or we're homeless. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a little different. Do you feel that I guess I already know the answer because you just said it. Like once you immediately started doing well, you took on more of the burden.
For sure.
That answers my question.
Yeah.
Like if you were already doing well, you would have took on the chores.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look, even in, my current relationship, like it's not 50-50.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. I think you really have to sit back and like assess that situation. Like, okay, like, is that really fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem can come when maybe the other person isn't comfortable with either side, right? So let's say a person is not comfortable paying 50-50, but they're also not comfortable being fully taken care of because they don't want to be fully reliant on someone else, which is a fair argument.
Yes.
Okay. Because God forbid something happens, it's like, now you're stuck like Chuck.
That's Danielle's logic.
Yeah, you're stuck like Chuck. So it's like this conversation gets super tricky because now we have love and money involved. Two of the things that screw guys up the most.
Yep.
I heard someone say a long time ago that two things that screw up guys the most is pink and green. And it will throw your head through a loop. I don't know, at least for me, when I approach a situation like that, I try to see what's most fair and then hear the other person out. But it still, I think, can get a little weird. Like when you pull up to the grocery store, who pulls their card out?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those boundaries set up? You better, because if you don't, money starts getting in the way of love, because it absolutely will.
I think it heavily depends on your status financially, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We kind of have a general idea of she takes care of groceries most times and some other small things. But my main concern is just making sure that she feels comfortable. You know what I mean? We have this conversation all the time, her and I, where we don't even have a joint bank account. And we've been married for a bit now, and I offer all the time. And I completely respect her for it. I think that's admirable.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she wants to be more, exactly, more independent. But on the flip side, I do think there is some negative that comes with that as well. Like you said, there's love, there's money, there's how you were raised,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Culture.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's big for her, is both culture and I think like what she's been through in her life in general. She became guarded, and her logic is what you said. If God forbid something happens, she wants to make sure that she's okay. She works very hard, and it's well deserved that she has her own money and can do whatever the hell she wants.
Right.
I want to be clear that that's not why I want to have a joint bank account. There's other reasons why I want to have joint bank accounts. There's a safety net to having a joint bank account and doing it the right way.
Yeah.
So God forbid there's an accident, I don't have to worry about someone coming after all my money, all my assets.
Yeah.
So I can't think of what the name of the bank account's called.
Mm.
Tenants by their entirety. That's what it's called. And it's like an extra layer of protection, basically. So that's why I want one. Yeah. I don't want to control her.
Yeah.
I would honestly want to have a separate joint bank account. I don't want her seeing my spending. It would be really bad.
Jarrod, what's this at 4:00 in the morning?
She would have hit me last night. She would have hit me last night. You want to know my new purchase?
What is it?
I got hit with an ad for, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like a compact weighted vest. It gets funnier though. I started off with that in my cart, and then I came across a bundle.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You gotta go for the bundle.
Right?
Yeah, that's why they're made.
Full outfit. It's fully weighted. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it.
For what? Like, what is this for?
Don't know yet.
For cardio? Like, what is this for?
Yeah. It's for anything. So it's
in case you want to be weighted?
Yeah. And look cool while being weighted, right? So I have a weighted vest. This is a completely unnecessary purchase, to be clear.
Yeah.
In case you didn't catch on already. I have a weighted vest.
Uh-huh.
But this is different. I can look cool.
Right.
Wow.
It's like tactical looking.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah.
So the point is, in all seriousness.
So you'll never use it.
I will use it. The only reason I stopped using my weighted vest, the only reason why I stopped using my weighted vest is my back.
Mm.
And I could still be an issue, but this is not as heavy as that. So look, all I could do is walk, man. So I'm trying to find
find ways that make it more intense.
Exactly. Like,
okay,
I know that sounds
we're going to give
silly.
you a slight pass for that. Yes.
I know it sounds silly.
No, it doesn't.
And it may not be completely necessary, but it's almost for my own mental well-being too, man, because I'm losing it, you know, to go from, again, being pretty active, whether it's working out or being able to ride my bike or do some sort of activity that's not just walking. It's difficult, dude.
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So that's the struggle. And I just had my checkup and I'm all excited after waiting 12 weeks. And they're like, oh yeah, you have 8 more weeks. It's not fused. I'm like, whatever, you know? So this circles back to what we're saying about like, we have grown.
Yeah.
Look, old Jarrod would have honestly took it way worse, man. And it's not to say I didn't get upset and I didn't get negative and stuff like that. But overall, I feel like I've been taking everything that's been coming at me on the chin. I didn't even tell you this, but Daniela got in an accident yesterday morning. Nothing bad happened, thank God.
Yeah.
But again, old me would be upset because it's a brand new car.
Yeah.
She's apologizing 100 times and I'm like, stop apologizing. You know, I'm just glad they're okay.
Of course.
And she thinks I'm upset because it's a new car. I don't give a shit. I don't care. But old me, I feel like would have.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of myself.
I think that's awesome. I totally get that. You know, there's plenty of situations that have been happening to me recently where, I'm starting to wonder how much more my chin can take. And I told you this yesterday. My uncle, he was on a job site yesterday and just collapsed. Had a heart attack and died. 63 years old. My mom's brother. Great guy, has a kid who's in his, mid-20s. And it's like, it honestly gave me some flashbacks, just the sadness of the situation. Gave me some flashbacks to Samantha. And, I don't know, man. I'm just like, what's next, dude? What's next? How much more can I really take? That plays into, emotional intelligence as well. Is having life smack you in the face, maybe not just once, but multiple times, and not completely losing.
100%. Knowing how to navigate it.
Yeah, exactly.
At least to an extent.
Yeah, look, and I was upset, and I'm sure I'm going to have to go over there, and I'll be upset and see everybody upset. I already know they all live in St. Petersburg, Tampa. So I already know I'm probably gonna have to go over there and relive the funeral experience.
That feeling,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just miserable.
In the same damn year.
Yeah, it's just and what's even crazier is my mom's other brother, my Uncle Vern.
This was on your mom's side?
Yes. So this is my mom's brother. My mom's other brother, my Uncle Vern. He died in 2007, and it was his birthday yesterday. So my Uncle Jake dies on my Uncle Vern's birthday.
Ugh.
How crazy is that? Is that
of all days?
Of all days. What? It doesn't even make sense. It's mind blowing. So, I think that for me, these repeated experiences of just getting knocked down has made getting up a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I'm just building. We in AA we call it sober history, right? Where you have things happen to you and you don't drink and drug over it. And I think this applies in life where you have things happen to you and you don't lose your mind over it.
Yeah.
And you kind of get trained in walking through these things as gracefully as you can.
So that's something that I need to work on is when I do get triggered and any type of feeling, my typical reaction, especially with stress, anxiety, just being in my head mainly, it's either going to be drinking or my new thing is this kratom.
Yeah.
Which is, look, it's not great.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
Too much of anything, 95% of the time is a bad thing.
Yes.
And I used to say I don't have an addictive personality. I'm starting to think that's not the case.
Yeah. I mean, look, know too that what you're doing is not abnormal. Okay. I mean, it's humans, we seek comfort. Okay. So the problem lies though, when that comfort becomes not comfort anymore. When you're just doing something to do it,
that's now
out of repetition. Yeah. And then that action starts to backfire.
Yeah.
At least for me, it was I used to reach for things, right? And they would give me comfort, ease and comfort. It worked. And then after a while, it doesn't work. And then you're still grabbing for it. That's where the problem is.
That's where I'm at right now. Look, I don't drink very much at all, mainly because I can't because of the antibiotics, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's
whatever.
honest.
I'm glad that is the case, because I think that I would drink a lot more and I wouldn't be happy with myself.
Yeah.
Now, the kratom is like a cop-out, though. I feel like I found a loophole.
You did.
But I already built such a tolerance to it that it's exactly what you're talking about.
I'm not doing anything for you anymore.
And I got a little upset yesterday. I forget what it was, but I went for a drive and I ended up going to get kratom. Like, I find myself getting kratom at 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just proud of myself that I'm acknowledging it. You know what I mean? So
that's the first step.
Yeah, exactly. I know I need to nip it in the bud, but it's not that easy.
No.
I am realizing that I think I do have an addictive personality.
Yeah, you probably do.
You know?
You probably do.
The kratom is nowhere near as bad as if you were drinking all the time or doing, narcotics, but it is definitely has negative effects.
It's on
your liver, especially.
Well, it's on the spectrum, man. Yeah, there's a spectrum for this thing. Like, people bring up, marijuana, and it's like, is it a relatively innocuous drug? Yes. Yes, it is. Like, most people don't go kill people after they've smoked weed. You know what I mean? Most people don't get DUIs from smoking weed. Most people don't hurt other people because they're smoking weed. But the problem lies in the action. The problem lies in what happens up here, the grabbing. And then what ends up happening to most people is what you're grabbing for doesn't work anymore, like we talked about. And then you start to look for other things on the spectrum. Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, well, if I'm not getting ease and comfort down here anymore, maybe if I just step it up a little bit, just every once in a while, I can get the ease and comfort that I want. And then you start doing the same thing. And then you just climb the ladder until you get to a place where you're doing some things you never thought you'd do. That's my story.
Yeah.
I ended up doing things that I never, ever would have imagined that I would ever do. And it was simply because, I wasn't all there emotionally, and I needed something to numb who I was.
What I don't understand for myself, my personal situation is how I was so capable of kicking the painkillers when I got out of the hospital, but I struggle with this.
Well,
that to me doesn't make sense.
It's the rationalization.
Of course, exactly, right? I justify.
Yeah.
Oh, kratom's not.
It's not illegal.
I could go to the store and get it right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. But I was proud of myself for getting out of the hospital. And they gave me a week's worth of Dilaudid, which I never had before being in that hospital. And if you don't know what Dilaudid is, it's I think stronger than morphine.
It's extremely.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I did not like it. The pill's
micrograms.
You can't even cut it in half if you want it. Yeah, that's how tiny it is.
Yeah.
And look, I was in the hospital, and these multiple nurses are like, "You're going to be a drug addict, and you're going to be addicted, and this and that," and it scared the shit out of me.
No, they're jaded. I
think that was a huge part of it. And at first, I was upset with them because I think we discussed this. But when you're in pain, in genuine pain, and you're not chasing a high, you get upset. Obviously, right? That's going to trigger you. You're going to get pissed when you get out of surgery. And this happened on multiple occasions. I had 4 surgeries, but on 2 or 3, when I'm getting out and the painkillers wore off, the Dilaudid at that time would have been via IV. You want more, and then they're telling you have 4 hours to wait, and you're in pretty severe pain. They do not break that protocol.
No.
And now, hindsight 2020, I respect it.
Yeah.
I completely respect it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it that way.
Because they don't want to ruin your life over a temporary situation.
Correct.
That's what it is, and
they see it every day, like you said.
Of course, man, they're jaded at this point. I don't blame them. How many people I know that were seemingly normal, good people, and they start taking that crap, man, and they don't know that they got that underlying thing, whatever it is that addiction lies in, and it wakes up a monster. And look, once you wake that monster up, it is not easy to put it back down.
Dude, I've seen it change people's entire life. You, one of them, but happy to see where you're at now. It's pretty damn cool, right? But I've seen it change people's entire life, even down to the way they behave on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But circling back, trying to get back into the emotional intelligence aspect of it, which I think all of this ties to. Everything we talk about ties to it, being aware of that feeling of wanting kratom, acknowledging it, and ignoring it, is basically what I need to do.
Yeah.
So it does definitely tie together.
Well, what you could do too is reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
You could always text me and be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting some kratom," and I'll probably just give you an answer.
I immediately just felt like I'm truly addicted to these.
Yeah. Well, and you can just tell me like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this, and I could just be, try to, not talk you off the ledge, but have you see the truth of the situation. Yeah. That's really all it is. It's the great lie. We all tell ourselves the great lie. It's just this one time. This is the last time. We're only going to do it once. It'll be okay. It's the great lie. And all you have to really have is somebody to kind of show you, like, hey man, that's a lie. And most people will wake up. They'll be like, sure. Wow, I think you're right.
I would.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe I will start doing that. It's like I avoid it. I think because of the reason I don't want to feel like I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
Because it sounds weird even as I'm talking about it now. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, dude.
It's a leaf, dude.
I mean, I am badly addicted.
Yeah.
Badly. Okay? Like, bad. This thing is in my hand.
I showed you the video.
23 hours a day.
I showed you the video. I'm pretty sure it's that exact brand.
What is it?
You're kissing right now. You see?
Well, they all look like this.
Sure, bud.
They all look like this. Yeah. I buy this from a very reputable source.
You've seen that though, right? Did I show you that?
Yes.
They're like pumping on all of them, making sure they're functioning. Dude,
yes.
It's that, and I saw the video of the Max being manufactured, and they're on the floor like.
Yeah. Totally unsanitary. Yeah. Completely defeating the point of the mask. I think we all human beings have something they reach for comfort. I mean, dude, look at America. We're the fattest country in the world. A lot of people use food for that. They'll reach for food for comfort. Nicotine, alcohol, drugs, we all do it. Okay. It's just a matter of not letting that thing stand in the way of your growth.
Not letting it control you.
Correct. Yeah. There's people who use alcohol normally. There's people who can smoke weed normally. There's people who can drink kratom normally. There's people who can vape normally. It's when it's taken to the excess and it's used as a crutch to not grow. That's where the problem is.
So yeah, look, obviously my intention is not to use it as a crutch to not grow. It's to numb my feeling that I'm going through that day. But I do think that you're right. If I were to reach out and reach out to anybody, but especially you, because you've been through the AA aspect of things, I think you definitely make me see it in a different light. And I'm going to start doing it. I guess I'll just make the decision to start doing it. Again, it makes me feel like, I don't know. It's
good.
No, I'm not talking about kratom. I'm saying like the thought of reaching out.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's cringy, man.
Right?
Yeah, that the phone is going to feel like it weighs 1,000 pounds.
Okay, yeah.
For sure. I mean, look, I had to do it.
I'm thinking about it now. Like,
yeah.
Because again, I don't want to. In my head, it's like, it's not cocaine, but that's justification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it does act as an opiate. That's what they say.
Oh, I know.
It clings to the same receptors.
Yeah, I'm fully aware of what it does.
Yeah.
Like, it's big.
Well, because, in recovery, they use it to get off of things, right?
Well, people will, relapse on it. And they justify it in their head, like, oh, this is okay. And then by the time you know it, they're taking opiates again.
I would assume it does way more harm than good with recovery.
Oh, no. Look, you are not. If you're a sober person, you are no longer sober.
Yeah.
Take kratom. I'm sorry, dude. That's just how it is.
Anything
that affects you from the neck up is a problem. It's a serious problem.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, I think this was a really cool topic to talk about. I think it came up and I think it's something that everybody needs to work on a little bit, and it's varying degrees of it. Like I said, I know somebody who, I was looking at them the other day and it was like, man, you are just like 16 years old in a 30-year-old body. Yep. You can just see it, and there are some people who are, much further along. They act more their age. And I think that all really boils down to that emotional intelligence, and how important that can be in just literally every aspect of your life.
It's very important, especially look, if you want to be successful and maybe you feel like you're not exactly book smart, you don't have the highest IQ, I think this is a very good alternative to help propel you to the next level.
Yeah.
Look, most ultra successful people do have very high IQ as well as very high emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. But if you feel that you suffer in one, I think that, again, this is learnable. This is something that's learnable. Not to say you can't make yourself smarter by reading and educating yourself, but I do feel like this is something that would be easier to attain, right? So I think a lot of people look at success as just strictly financial for the most part. And I would say that you don't realize it until you've been there, until you've made more money than you've ever imagined you'd ever make, and you realize you're still not happy with yourself.
Yes.
It's like, that makes you think. It's like, so you're chasing the wrong thing.
Yes.
I feel like anytime people put their focus into what we're talking about, becoming emotionally intelligent, in touch with themselves, and understanding why they feel how they feel, I think that's the real
win.
Exactly. That's the real win.
It is.
How you feel about yourself when you're by yourself.
Yep.
I think is huge, right? Yeah. Like you could have all the money in the world, but when you're by yourself and you're not riding around in your super cool car getting attention, how do you feel about yourself? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do agree. I think this was an awesome episode. We're always biased.
Yeah. We're always.
So, as usual, I would say if you learned anything or enjoyed any aspect of this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, share your thoughts. We also love to have episode ideas. You know, we realize that it's difficult to come up with topics.
It can be, yes, right? It can be. There's something that's, relevant to the theme of the podcast, and like, we're looking forward to having some guests on every now and then as well. So if anybody's interested, if you think you have anything to offer, comment in the comment section, reach out to me or Jarrod. And yeah, man, thank you guys for watching as always.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Peace out. Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Dadtrepreneur. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for future episodes. Stay connected with us on Instagram @Dadtrepreneur Podcast. See you next time.